Welcome to another deep dive with us. This time, we're going to be looking at something a little different. It's a YouTube video, and it involves this regression hypnosis with this guy, John. We're talking hidden energies in past lives and even an entity named Luna. It's really kind of wild.
It really does push the boundaries of what we maybe think we know about our subconscious.
Definitely. So John goes into this session wanting to get a grip on some pretty intense anger issues. He's also curious about some kind of energetic treatment that he had done where they, something about closing his body for protection. What do you think about that?
Well, seeking a deeper meaning behind emotional imbalances like that is something you see pretty often in a lot of energy work.
Okay.
We often end up carrying the weight of all these past experiences, even if we don't remember them.
Right.
And those experiences can form energetic patterns that influence our feelings and our actions today.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it sounds like John is kind of hoping to uncover some of those patterns.
Exactly. And right away, he pinpoints this orange, like a warm energy in his chest. He says it's anxiety. And when he visualizes it being removed, he feels lighter.
Wow.
Almost instantly.
That's pretty powerful. So he's literally seeing his anxiety as energy.
Yeah. And it's a technique that you see in a bunch of different therapies. It's about externalizing the emotion and giving it form so you can kind of interact with it.
Okay.
It can be a pretty effective way to manage and understand your feelings.
It's almost like turning it into something you can actually work with.
Exactly. And okay, so here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
He runs into another energy. This time it's red and then black, which he says is related to his anger.
Okay.
And it ends up taking the form of this feminine figure he calls Luna.
Ooh, Luna. I got to admit that name kind of gives me the chills. Is she like an alter ego or something?
Well, it's not that simple. The subconscious, it communicates in symbols and dreams and metaphors.
Right.
So Luna could be a representation of something inside of him or maybe some kind of external energy that's attached to him.
Okay, so external energy, like a spirit.
Well, some people might call it that, yeah. The idea of soul attachments is that we can carry connections from past lives or even from other people.
Wow.
And these attachments can actually impact our lives, sometimes in ways that we don't understand.
So you're saying Luna could be from a past life and it's still connected to him?
It's a possibility.
Okay.
John even says that she came into his space before he had a physical body.
Huh.
Which implies a connection that goes way beyond this current life.
Okay. Things are getting deep.
Yeah.
So we've got John with his anger and this mysterious Luna who could be from a past life. Where do we go from here?
Well, he describes this dark purple realm where he actually created Luna using his own energy.
He created her. How is that even possible?
Well, it's a complicated idea, but in some spiritual traditions, different colors represent different realms of existence. Different states of consciousness. Purple is often tied to higher vibrations, maybe a realm where energy manipulation and creation are possible.
So he's not creating her like we create things, in the physical world.
No, more like he manifested her on a totally different level of reality.
Okay.
A place where our normal rules don't apply.
This is crazy. So John is in this purple realm, creates Luna, but there's a twist, right?
Yeah, there is. The way he describes it is different from other pure beings.
Okay.
He sees that they create offspring that's separate from them. Luna, however, remains inside John.
That's really interesting. So instead of being a separate being, she's part of him.
Exactly. And this kind of goes with the idea of everyone having a unique spiritual journey.
Right.
And maybe John's path involves this unique merging of energies represented by Luna living inside him.
Okay, so what happens next in this cosmic drama?
Well, John and Luna meet these beings of pure light who say that Earth is, it's too dark and horrible for them. They use porters like John to carry their kids to other worlds.
So they're using John as a cosmic Uber driver.
Haha. Yeah, something like that. But this brings up the idea that there are different spiritual beliefs about the energy of Earth.
Right.
Some see Earth as a challenging learning environment, while others see it as a place with a lower vibration,
Okay.
Maybe even dangerous to these pure light beings.
So to them, Earth is the bad part of town in the universe.
Uh-huh. Yeah, kind of. And here's where we start to see some real conflict emerging.
Yeah.
John connects with the king of Earth, who's this dark figure named Atos.
Oh, boy.
And Atos feeds on negative energy.
A king who thrives on negativity. That doesn't sound good.
Well, Atos embodies the darker aspects of human nature, that shadow self we all have.
Right.
He's an archetype that you see in a lot of different cultures and spiritual traditions.
So John is caught between these light beings and this Athos guy.
Yeah, and it turns out Athos is the one who wanted John to bring Luna to Earth
Oh, no.
because he wants to feed off of her purity. But John feels very protective of her and won't let her go.
Oh, so there's this cosmic battle over Luna and John stuck right in the middle of it.
Right, and this kind of brings up this idea of spiritual contracts,
Oh.
like the idea that we might agree to challenging experiences before we're even born as a way for our souls to learn and grow.
Hmm.
And maybe John agreed to this porter role, and now he's facing the consequences.
It's like John's in his own Star Wars movie.
Haha, that's a good way to put it.
So how does he get out of this?
Well, with the hypnotist's help, John eventually takes back his power.
Okay.
He breaks free of Athos's control, and he even manages to release Luna. It's a really powerful moment.
So he overcame his anger, broke free from Athos, and released Luna.
Yes. And he goes through a huge shift in his energy.
Okay.
All that anger and sadness changes into this feeling of neutrality, like a lightness in his heart.
Yeah.
He even sees Athos turning into dust and disappearing.
Wow, that's intense.
This kind of speaks to the power of shadow work,
Okay.
confronting the darker parts of ourselves that we usually try to hide. And by facing his shadow in the form of Athos, he was able to heal and move on.
He literally faced his demons and came out stronger.
Exactly. And we're going to explore more of John's incredible journey in part 2 of this deep dive. Welcome back to our deep dive into John's regression hypnosis. When we left off, John was experiencing a pretty big shift. He took back his power and he let go of that negative entity, Athos.
Yeah, that was a huge moment. It felt like he finally broke free from those things holding him back.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, like, did that freedom last? Did it actually change him?
Well, that's what we're going to look at now. Remember those energetic treatments that John talked about in the beginning, where they closed his body for protection?
Yeah, he wanted to understand what was going on there, like on an energy level.
Now that John's energy has changed, he can go back to those treatments with a new perspective.
So it's like he's going back to like the scene of the crime, but now he understands what happened.
Exactly. And what he finds is really interesting. He sees that those treatments were actually attempts to take energy from him. But now that he's stronger, they don't work.
So he's like immune to energy vampires now.
Haha. Yeah, something like that. He's not affected by those outside influences anymore. And this new resilience also affects his emotions.
So what about his anger? The reason he went to the session in the first place, is that gone?
Well, the hypnotist has John remember a time when he was really angry, similar to the anger he felt before the session.
So this is the real test. Can he stay calm, even when he's triggered?
And here's what happens. As John pictures this scenario, he sees the anger as this dark, swirling energy. But this time it doesn't consume him. He's just observing it.
Like watching a storm from a distance.
Exactly. He doesn't become the anger. He sees it as just energy, separate from who he really is.
Wow. So he went from being controlled by his anger to being able to see it without getting lost in it.
Yeah. And that just shows how much he's changed. His perspective is so different now that the anger doesn't have power over him anymore.
It makes you wonder if we all have that ability to change how we relate to our emotions.
Oh, absolutely. John's experience shows us that we can go from being victims of our emotions to being aware of them. We can learn to understand them, see where they come from, and choose how we react.
So John wanted to get rid of his anger, but he ended up doing way more than that. He discovered parts of himself he didn't know about. He explored past lives, met these cosmic beings, and even faced that Shadow King.
It's been a wild ride. And remember, this all happened inside John's mind. It shows us the power and potential that we all have inside us.
It really makes you wonder what kind of adventures are waiting for us in our own subconscious.
What stories and energies might your inner world reveal? What hidden wisdom could you find if you went deep inside?
That's something I'll definitely be thinking about after this.
And before we move on, it's important to remember the hypnotist's role in all of this.
All right. The hypnotist was like a guide for John in this crazy inner world.
Exactly. The hypnotist's skills help John reach those deeper levels of consciousness and deal with the challenges along the way.
It shows how important it is to find a good and experienced hypnotist if you want to try something like regression hypnosis.
Definitely. It's a powerful tool, but you have to use it carefully.
We've talked about a lot, but there's still one thing we need to look at.
Yeah. Remember those porters we talked about?
Hmm.
The ones who take souls to different worlds? Well, it seems like John's role as a porter is even bigger than we first thought. And that's where we'll pick up in part 3 of our deep dive.
We're back for the last part of our deep dive into John's regression hypnosis. Last time we saw how much he changed. Like he overcame his anger and became really empowered.
It was amazing to see him go from feeling controlled by his emotions to just observing them and choosing how to react.
Yeah, it makes you think about how much control we have over what's going on inside us. But you said there was more to John's role as a porter than we thought. What did you mean?
Well, remember those beings of pure light, the ones who thought Earth was too dark and scary for them.
Right, the ones who used porters like John to take their offspring to other worlds because Earth was like a danger zone.
As the session goes on, it becomes clear that John's not just transporting these souls, he can actually help them adapt and survive in tough environments like Earth.
So he's not just a driver, he's like a guide,
Yeah,
getting them ready for life on Earth.
exactly. He's like a bridge between that pure light energy and the more complicated energy of Earth. And it's interesting because John went through something similar during this session.
Right. He started out feeling trapped by his anger, but then he faced his shadow self, took back his power, and changed how he dealt with those darker energies.
Exactly. And by going through his own healing process, he's gained the wisdom to help others.
He's like a walking example of how to face the darkness and come out okay.
Maybe that's the lesson here. It's not about avoiding the darkness, it's about learning to deal with it and maybe even rise above it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like finding the light within the darkness, which is something you see in a lot of spiritual traditions.
Absolutely. And as we finish up this session, it gives us a sense of hope. If John can overcome his problems, change his energy, and become a guide, what can the rest of us do?
This has been an amazing deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
We went from John's anger to all this spiritual stuff. It's given me a lot to think about.
It has been quite a journey. And for me, one of the biggest takeaways is remembering that we all have this power inside us. We can face our shadows, heal ourselves, and reach our full potential even when things are hard.
It's a powerful message. And maybe some of us are porters too, helping others through life without even realizing it.
That's a cool thought. Maybe we're all part of something bigger, supporting each other as we grow and evolve.
Well, John's regression hypnosis definitely leaves us with more questions than answers. But maybe that's the whole point. Maybe that's not about finding all the answers, but about being open to the mystery, exploring ourselves, and trusting the process.
I like that. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want you, the listener, to think about your own inner world. What stories, energies, or wisdom might be waiting for you?
Maybe it's time to write in a journal, try meditation, or even talk to a hypnotist. There are so many ways to learn about yourself. And who knows, maybe we'll be deep diving into your adventures one day. Until then, keep exploring and keep diving deep.